What's up, everybody? Welcome to the CanesInSight Daily podcast. It is breakfast with the Canes Saturday morning. The national championship is set. It is the Miami Hurricanes against the Indiana Hoosiers. Had to be this way, man. It's an awesome matchup. It's going to be huge hype. Obviously, Indiana is America's team right now. They're getting a lot of hype, which we love. Best team of all time, I heard. Love it. Keep it coming. It is going to be a great matchup. Obviously, Mendoza grew up right next to the University of Miami, so that's going to be a major, major deal. You know, Cuban quarterback, Cuban coach. It is going to be a lot of storylines this week, but what matters is the Miami Hurricanes are in the championship, and I personally love the matchup. I love the way it's setting up. I love all this hype. I love it. I'm feeling great. I feel even better about the transfer portal visitors, which we will talk about each of them visiting this weekend here on the CanesInSight Daily podcast. Always shout out Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys. If you or someone you care about is injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation. Dial 1-800-747-FREE, 1-800-747-3733. Take back control of your life with Anajar and Levine. Pete, top in.
D, good morning.
How we doing, man? Saw you last night. Did two shows yesterday. I did one. You did one. Nice to circle back. We kind of cut the podcast in person, but nice to get back in front of the people here.
Yeah, excited to talk portal. It's funny. We have a national title matchup, but the title of the show is centered more towards the transfer portal because everyone's been so kind of antsy about that. All the news last week around the country, and Miami really wasn't. Miami had a couple visitors, but they weren't really, pushing hard until this weekend, which they're going to be making their moves. Guys already on campus right now. They'll be going through all of them will be going through their medical stuff this morning, and then get to campus and get with the coaches and figure things out. Like we've talked about, these visits are very business-like, I would say. It's not like high school recruiting when it's a lot of the bells and whistles, right? I'm excited to talk this Indiana matchup all week. A lot of different angles to look at it. But waking up a proud Columbus alum this morning, man. I mean, Fernando Mendoza is the enemy this week, obviously, but what a showcase for the greatest high school in the country. You want to be a Fortune 500 CEO, come to the C. You want to be a Heisman Trophy winner, come to the C. You want to be a first-round pick, come to the C. You want to be a freshman All-American, Bryce Fitzgerald, come to the C, man. Great time to be a Columbus alum. Great time to be a Miami Hurricane.
Listen, it's not a great time to be Mendoza because he's going to get sacked quite a bit. I'm a big fan of Bryce Fitzgerald, but won a state championship.
Ryan Rodriguez.
Before deciding to, reduce his educational requirements because he plays a lot of sports. I understand the decision. It's hard to play three sports.
He's a great young man.
Academic requirements.
The academic requirements, like I said, most Fortune 500 CEOs in the country. So if you want to keep talking down on that, we can go toe to toe with that. But and Fernando Mendoza is an upstanding individual, as we see. Like I said, the enemy this week, and you're going to need to pressure him because you give him time like that. And it's not going to be what we saw yesterday, but you cannot have that, man. The defense has to get after him.
Yeah, we'll talk that matchup here in a second. George Valero, appreciate your support. Remember to throw in a question, man. Wait, hold on. We got a comment here from Lucas Falsetto. Says, never forget, D was calling for this moment at the beginning of the year. Listen, I got to replay that Luis Miguel highlight reel we did for the pregame hype. I put that out this week. We still got one more to go to complete the story, but. Yeah, with the Indiana matchup, we can just start right there before we get into the portal. I know the portal is going to be a big topic, but let's just start with this matchup. I love it. I love the hype. Again, we're comparing Indiana to some of the great teams in history. I love that. Keep that going. They are coming off a game where they played great, perfect, great to put on tape. Miami's coming off a game where it did not play well, even better, a lot to correct. Signetti starting to feel himself a little bit. He's talking about drinking beers and doing all this stuff, having fun. Mario in that post game looked like he was ready to kill somebody. So again, I like all these dynamics. Indiana is a very talented team. I think they're more talented than people give them credit for as far as like NFL talent. Signetti's his best thing is really he's a good talent evaluator. So he's got a lot of talent. Obviously, these guys are old. They're all 23 plus, so that helps. But Surratt, the receivers will get drafted. Mendoza, their left tackle, their corners are good. They got some guys that are draft draftable. So they have a lot of talent. But the great thing is Miami's got more talent, and Miami's being underestimated. I would also say, as physical as Indiana is, and they're tough, they tackle, Miami's the more physical, powerful team. They have more knockback. They have more physicality. They have more violence. So, again, I love how this matchup shakes up with all the external stuff. College football is a lot of the external stuff. With Ole Miss, we were the favorite. Bad style matchup. We talked about all that. That's why my prediction was 31-28. I think the score ended up being 31-27. So, pretty close to the nose. I will be predicting Miami to win against Indiana, of course. And I love the way it lines up. You look at how Indiana has played their close games this year. Ohio State, Penn State, Iowa. They stopped Indiana's running game, and they hit Mendoza. We're the best run defense that Indiana's played all season. Maybe throw Ohio State in there, but we completely dominated Ohio State in the running game. So I think that favors Miami. They can do exactly what those other three teams did. I think it's the best pass rush that Indiana's faced this year. So that will be more of a challenge for Mendoza. He's great. I think he is deserving Heisman. He's running a lot more. He looks more athletic this year. He played great yesterday. He's going to be a problem. But the way that Indiana has struggled this year, like the way you got into them, is exactly what Miami does best. And now you have a very motivated underdog that's also the more talented, violent team, that's better in the trenches and bigger. I like those odds. I feel great about this matchup.
To me, man, the story of last night was really Dan Lanning's bunch laying an egg. I did not, he talks so much. He's the master motivator. He's, I just, that he talks greasy. And I didn't expect a team of his to lay an egg like that. That's one thing that you can say always about these Mario Cristobal teams, man. They're ready to play in these moments. Is it always perfect? No, the road there is it's been bumpy, but these guys are ready to play these big games, and they're going to come out obviously with exponential juice at the Rock. It just was stunning to me to see Oregon come out like that last night. And you give credit to what Indiana did, but a lot of it was just Oregon, to me, coming out flat on their face. When there's injury stuff, the coordinators, Stein's gone, but embarrassing performance from them, quite frankly. And I don't know that many fan bases deserve it more than them after everything they've talked about with Mario Cristobal, who's playing for a national title now. Yeah, no,
I think you said it very well. I was on the pregame show, or the show we did that day, I was very confident that Indiana would win. I wanted Oregon to win because I thought they were the easier matchup, but I was pretty confident that Oregon would not win. The reason being, number one, their offensive line, extremely overrated. They got abused by Texas Tech. No one remembered that because Texas Tech had a terrible quarterback and they couldn't score. But Oregon got beat up badly up front in that ball game. Also a ton of injuries, and they had their coaching, both offensive coordinator and defensive coordinator, out the door. So you combine the coaching departures, the injuries, and the fact that they just had weaknesses that weren't exploited yet. But I think that, obviously Indiana had the personnel to exploit. That all added up. Plus you had really a schedule with Oregon. They lost to Indiana twice, and they beat Texas Tech, who had no quarterback. So who did they really play to show how good they were? I saw that Oregon would have been a favorite over Miami if they would have won, which is astounding to me because, again, I don't think Oregon is that kind of team. Indiana is a good team. Indiana deserves to be in this game. I would say Indiana deserves to be the favorite based on what they've done. However, this is a whole new ball game. Miami's pass rush is infinitely better than Oregon's, which ranks in the 50s, and I don't even think it's that good. Miami's offensive line is infinitely better than Oregon's offensive line, which has been an overrated unit all year, and every time they played a real defensive line, they got in their crap pushed in. Dante Moore turned it over twice. Again, if he goes pro, he's a maniac. I've said it the whole time that these guys are thinking about going pro. Dante Moore, Ty Simpson are idiots. Greg McElroy was talking about, like, oh, if you're a top 5 pick, you have to go. Like Mitchell Trubisky.
Which I agree with. We had this debate. Yeah, it wasn't a good performance from Moore, but again, like,
I can go to Publix and have Mitchell Trubisky and Anthony Richardson, bag groceries for me. I'd rather.
But were they going to suck regardless if they played another?
Anthony Richardson probably would. Trubisky, I don't think would have. Trubisky.
So why not? So why not take your money if you're a top 5 pick if you're going to suck? It just doesn't.
These guys want to be great. They want to be great. They want to be great
Maybe,
players.
but you may not always be capable of it, as we just said. If you are there, which Ty Simpson looks like he's doing. I think he's making good decisions. He's going to be probably going to be a first round pick here, as we've speculated, because of how weak the class is. Listen, it's a whole nother debate. Like I said, I think it's more on the NFL. You can draft a guy, but you don't have to play him that early. I know you're paying him a lot of money, but
they're going to play him early. They're not going to be ready. But anyways, obviously Dante Moore's not ready for the pros. We saw that. He gave the game away with Oregon. I mean, you talk about 28 points off turnovers and some of the stupidest turnovers you've ever seen. Yeah. So that's
a couple things. We're getting a lot of questions about injuries. I don't have any updates 2 days after the game. I think all these things are going to be wait and see, but it's a national championship. If a guy can go, I'm sure he will go, right? This is not a regular season ACC game that they're trying to, you rest them. We talk about, there's a 16-game season potentially. You stretch everything out and you rest guys and you try to keep them right for this moment. So if they can go, they'll go. Moten, we already saw him pushing through this last game. I don't see why he wouldn't be able to go. I know he was hobbling and got hurt, but he came back in that game. OJ came out. Damari, who was a game time decision, as we reported, he didn't go. But you're giving him now 10 extra days. Fingers crossed. But if they can go, I'm sure they can go. We'll keep you guys updated as we hear things throughout the week.
Yeah, I agree. The one that bothers me is Xavier Lucas missing the first half, especially with these guys, how they love to throw back shoulder. Indiana's receivers don't get a ton of separation. I think Indiana's really good. I think all three of them are going to go NFL. So I think Indiana's receiving core is a major problem. But really where they kill you is those back shoulder throws and things like that, which when you have bigger corners like Xavier Lucas, you're much better positioned to defend those. Unfortunately, Xavier Lucas out for the first half on some made-up targeting call. So is what it is, but I think you got to work to get those guys back. I think the time that we have here is good, not only to get the portal set up, which we'll talk about here in a second, but also to get guys healthy and ready to rock and roll. They're banged up too, by the way. Indiana, another reason why I like this matchup against Indiana, you heard Signetti talk about it. They don't have that much depth. Like, they're beat up and they don't have that much depth. Now, the guys they start are good, so they play good players, but they don't have waves of players. Miami has more depth than Indiana. So if we play one of these long play games, like you saw with Ole Miss, obviously totally different offense, Ole Miss and Indiana, but the way we control the ball on offense and the amount of plays we played, that Indiana defense is not built to play a ton of bodies. That is not what they want to do. That is not what they're built to do. And I think that's something that they gotta deal with as they get ready for this matchup. I got Maniac Kane. He's sweating Indiana. He said, those boys are locked in, talking like Miami's just out of this world. Here's what I'm talking about, Maniac Kane. First of all, there's two teams that are left. They're the two best teams in the country, Miami and Indiana. I would say here, I'm going to name you some guys. Is there anybody as good on Indiana's defensive line as Ruben Bain? No. So we'll move on to the next one. Is there anyone as good as Keem Messidor? No. So we'll move on to the next one.
Well, they've got to perform, though, because these guys against Ole Miss they weren't super productive in the pass rush game. So I agree with that. But you gotta. Indiana has guys who have produced at a high level, and talent wise, I agree with it. But the execution has to be there. I think that's what people are. So you can't have these dropped interceptions. You gotta get home to the quarterback. You can't have those slip ups that you had against Ole Miss.
No doubt. If we play like we played against Ole Miss, we'll lose. No doubt. So you have to play. If you play like we play against Ohio State with how clean we were and how protecting the ball and penalties, I think we'll win. So that's really the difference. But in terms of the pass rushing against Chambliss, that whole offense with Ole Miss was geared to get rid of the ball quick. I mean, no one's touching that guy. Bain was. You watch the film on Bain. He was getting by pounds in 2 seconds. It just was the style of offense that they played. Indiana is going to hold the ball and get hit more. You watch their games against Penn State, Ohio State, Iowa. That's what happened. They're going to get hit more because of the way they play if you can beat their offensive line. So that's the big difference between Chambliss and Mendoza. I think Mendoza is better than Chambliss. I think Mendoza is the best quarterback we've played by far. I think he's way better than Chambliss. And I think Chambliss is good. But, I mean, Mendoza is a first overall pick. So, but I think the matchup for our defensive ends is much better here. I think the matchup for the defensive tackles is much better here. I think we have much better defensive line than Indiana. I think we have much better offensive line than Indiana. They are good in those units, very well coached. They're old. They play well together. But in terms of talent, no, we're better than them. Where they're talented is receiver. They have 3 NFL receivers. I don't think we have 3 NFL receivers right now. Maybe we do. But they right now, if you're projecting who would get hired tomorrow, drafted, Indiana would. So I think they're good there. You got to respect it. And obviously, their quarterback's the first overall pick, and they just play together as a team. They don't make mistakes. But I think if Miami plays like they did against Ohio State, does not commit penalties, does not turn the ball over, they match up well with Indiana, just like they matched up well with Ohio State. Difference between Indiana and Ohio State has better players. Indiana has a better quarterback, I would say.
Well, and I think he says, someone here says Mendoza's not as elusive as Chambliss, but I remember him getting Ruben Bain pretty bad in the open field last year. So he can move now. He can move a little bit. Obviously, he's not Chambliss, but you got to respect his ability to move. He's probably a bit more athletic than a Beck in terms of his ability to move.
Insane
for sure. And he's a long strider, so he eats up chunks when he's moving. But he got banged pretty bad last year.
Mendoza's good, man. And the more I see him, the more I like him. And I've been the high man on him since he was in high school. So it's not like I've been down on Mendoza. I would say I've been higher on Mendoza than anybody. And even I didn't expect him to be this good. I would take him over. I mean, we know how the pros turned out, but I'm talking about just how they came out of college. I would take him over Caleb Williams. Definitely would take him over Caleb Williams. As dorky as he is, he doesn't paint his nails and do the stuff that Caleb Williams does. I would take him over, basically, I would take him over everybody except for Cam Ward and Drake May of the last few years. I had to go back a few years. But I love Cam Ward, obviously. I love Drake May coming out just because he's my kind of guy, athletic, multi-sport, big guy. But I take him over a lot of guys. That whole nonsense, people are like, oh, he's the weakest Heisman winner in a while. He's the weakest #1 pick in a while. That's stupidity. I mean, this guy is good. Like, this guy has all the tools. His accuracy yesterday was ridiculous. He's extremely smart. He's tough. He can move. He's big. He's a lot bigger than people thought he was tall and skinny, but he's been in the weight room, man. He was breaking tackles or running QB power with him. I think listen, you got to be the best. You got to beat the best. And he is the best right now. And I think Miami is going to have a challenge on their hands, but luckily we have Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. I think we're going to hit him a lot. And then we're going to get him to the ground a lot. And I think we match up well with him because you're going to stop Mendoza. You have to be able to rush the passer and without blitzing too much. And that's what Miami can do.
Without a doubt, man. It's going to be a great matchup. We'll be getting into it all week on really week plus here on Canes Insight, as we'll be having a bunch of shows here, multiple shows a day. And we're Saturday now. I've lost track of time here. It's like the start. You know how the start of the year, D, is always, you're always kind of in the matrix there with, you don't know what day it is because until the national title is over, I'm in the same boat. The new year doesn't start until January 20th for me here.
Yeah, no, I didn't know what day it is. But this is a dream to be. I love this matchup. Before we move off Indiana, I just want just the matchup itself, the whole thing about it. I know you're wearing the Columbus jersey, all that, but just like, I think this is the coolest matchup to be in the championship. I think they're the best team. So I'd love to play a team that's all injured and like TCU that just kind of got there by luck of the draw, whatever. But if we're going to win the championship and win number 6, it's got to be this way. I mean, the first championship was against Nebraska, which they said was the best team of all time when we beat them. So like, I feel like this is how it's got to be to win it. And it's going to be a cool ratings bonanza. Indiana's going to travel well. That's the only thing I don't like is that Indiana, because of the amount of alumni they have, because of the fact they haven't done this for a long time, ever, really. I think they're going to be heavy in the Orange Bowl. That's my only thing I don't love. I would have liked more of a home field advantage. But otherwise, it's going to be an incredible matchup, I think.
What was your line about the upper deck, the liquored up, got the liquored up Canes fans up there?
Yeah, I'll be up there. I think I'm currently upper deck unless something changes with my family. So I'll be like with the eye in the sky. But yeah, they serve liquor up there. It's not gonna. These games are different, right? They're championship games, so you have a lot of corporate people and stuff. It's not like the same environment. That environment for Indiana yesterday was like a home field. That was crazy. Oregon. If Oregon would have been in the championship against Miami, I think we would have been the home team, like how Indiana was yesterday. This one will be more 50-50. I mean, we're home, so there's going to be plenty of Miami people there. But
just a side note, D, and I just to get on them a little bit. It's been a tough time as a Canes fan, but imagine being an Oregon fan. You put all these resources into the program. You have Nike money. You have Phil Knight. You're out there pretty much on your own out there. UCLA and USC's been down for so long. And you're just you laid an embarrassing performance last night. You had a leg up on everyone in the beginning of NIL. Now everyone's kind of catching up to you. Embarrassing performance from them. I'm generally a Dan Lanning guy, but I just think the way that their fan base has acted towards Mario, who solidified a lot of what they did, because we see what Chip Kelly did was not enough to lay a foundation as a program, as we've seen Chip Kelly become show that he is the fraud that he is. And Mario laid the foundation, if you want to be real about it, and he got them the 2 Rose Bowls, winning the Pac-12 twice. Lack of respect for what he did for their program, and if you're a fan of theirs, you can root for these great portal classes, recruiting classes, all you want, but at the end of the day, you still got, as my man 50 says, 100 jersey, no rings.
Yeah, we got to get 50 on, man. 50 has like the melody with that one. He sings that one like a singer. But
beautiful.
But that was nice. That was not bad, Pete. Definitely better than I could do it. Yeah, with Oregon, I think Lanny's a good coach. I think he's done a good job. But at the end of the day, what Mario's done in Miami now has surpassed Lanning by a lot, because you're talking about where Lanning got the program. It was a program that had been good the past 20 years. It had gone through a dip, and then Mario brought it out of the dip. And then Lanning took it where Mario had 10 wins and took it to another level. Now, Lanning, one of the reasons he took it to another level, first of all, he got it at a good level. But number two, NIL was a new thing when Lanning took over. Right. So Oregon was always going to be a great NIL school because they have Phil Knight, and it's easier to get players to Eugene, Oregon when you can pay them, because Eugene, Oregon is not nice. Like I'm an Oregon guy. My family's from there. I've been many parts of Oregon. Eugene is not the nice part of Oregon. So plus it is far. Like a lot of people aren't from there. So to get people to Eugene, you got to pay them. So NIL was perfect for Oregon. So I think that's the biggest reason why Oregon jumped from like a 10, 11, 12-win program into Mario to a 13-win program under Lanning, is because they're able to pay players. But then Mario has taken a program that was in the gutter with Manny and no talent, the talent to haul it out, a lot of really bad recruiting classes. And he was able to take that to a higher point, the national championship final. So, yeah, if you compare the coaching jobs between Lanning and Mario, and I don't think Lanning's a bad coach at all, but I think certainly Mario has done a better job. By the way, look at West End Zone here, my boy. Well, before we wrap up on Indiana and this whole thing, says the parallels to the 1983 Cinderella Canes are undeniable. We were 15-point dogs in that game. We were a young team that season. That peaked late. You know what this game reminds me of?
I know your pops is giving you that intel, West End Zone, man.
Yeah,
he's the historian. I know you didn't pull that one out of the bag, man.
But here's what I'll say. You know what this game reminds me of, Pete? Do you remember? I'm pulling the exact year. I think it was 2000 and I want to say 2007. Let me see. So, okay, no, 2008. It was 2008. Okay, the Florida Gators, and I hate to compare the Canes. Oh no, sorry. Let me get my years right. What was the year? 2006. 2006. This is what it was. 2006 Florida Gators. And I hate to compare the Canes to the Gators, but I remember this vividly. Okay. Do you remember the 2006 Florida Gators? This is the Chris Leak Florida Gators, P, where Tebow was still the part-time player. Yep. They had an outrageous defensive line that year. I want to say Jarvis Moss. They had a few guys. They had tall dude played for the Bengals, Carlos Dunlap. Yeah, they had Dunlap there. Yeah, they had Derek Harvey as well. Ray McDonald, Jarvis Moss. They had a bunch of guys that played in the pros. Stephen Harris. So they had a lot of pros on that defensive line. It was the strength of their team. Marcus Freeman actually played for Ohio State. And you remember this Ohio State team? This is the year. Don't get me started on Marcus Freeman. I'm generally a Marcus Freeman guy. Do you see the video? I'm sorry, you dropped his name. You see the video of him talking to the team? And he said he didn't have an answer. I don't know what to tell you. I don't have an answer here. You beat Miami or Texas A&M. There's your answer. I don't know what they did to us. So I don't know what the answer was, Marcus Freeman.
Get out of here. And I was a Marcus Freeman guy, but I don't know what to tell you guys. I usually have all the answers. The answer is beat Miami or Texas A&M, clown.
But they beat USC and Navy. That's not enough to put him in the playoff.
He didn't have the answer. You didn't have the answer, you clown.
Yeah. Anyway, so Marcus Freeman was on that team, and they were a huge favorite, Pete, in that game. They had Ted Ginn, they had Anthony Gonzalez, the original Cuban football player who really excelled, the first round pick. They had Ted Ginn, they had Troy Smith who won the Heisman. They had a lot going for them, and they were a prohibitive favorite in that ball game. UF was actually the more talented team with all of Ron Zook's recruits in that game. They had a better defensive line. They had Percy Harvin, I believe they had at that time, if I recall correctly, who they have at that time. Yeah, they had Percy Harvin. They had Tebow as young
Dallas
guys.
Baker, the touchdown maker.
Yes, they had him. But they had a lot of guys, but they're actually the more talented team, particularly up front when it came to like the defensive line. So Ohio State came in, no one thought they could lose. And Florida, because their defensive line was their strength, overwhelmed Ohio State's offensive line and really won the game that way. And then they had speed and other position players. They actually destroyed Ohio State 41-14. It was a blowout. So that game reminds me of this one in terms of the underdog is not really an underdog because you're going to walk up to the line of scrimmage and Miami's defensive line is going to be bigger than their offensive line. So that's one game that I'm going to rewatch that game. I hated it at the time because I hated Florida even more than Ohio State. But now thinking back to it.
Didn't Ginn have the opening kickoff for touchdown?
Ginn had the opening kickoff for touchdown, exactly. Then they got destroyed after that. I mean, it was a blowout. I'm not saying this is going to be a blowout. I'm just saying I see some similarities in that game. And let me pull up the point spread because that was a huge favorite. Point spread, Ohio State, Florida. 2006. Not really good podcasting here, but we'll look up stuff while we're talking, as we can do here. The point spread in that game.
We are podcasting. We're streaming, man. We're live streaming.
That's true. Pete, guess the point spread.
8 points.
7. Yeah. Which I think is what this one will probably land on. I think what did it come out at? -7.5, -8.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, look into that game and have some flashbacks. But yeah, I like being the underdog with the better team. Better, more talented, more physical, more violent team. Great place to be.
No doubt. So D, we got we got an opportunity at noon. We got a major opportunity at noon, my friend. An opportunity to go 3-0 in ACC play as we got Canes hoops against Georgia Tech here. But we got some portal to talk.
Hold on, before we get into the portal, I want to get into a super chat here and a couple spots. Clutch saying, all off appreciate your support as always. All last season, I was highly upset. Zay Horton leaving. I thought it was our biggest loss. All that said, any chance we bring him home? I haven't heard that, Pete. He's not on the list, and we're going to go through the list of folks that are visiting this weekend. I posted on CanesInSight.com. I have not heard the Isaiah Horton part of it.
I haven't heard it either, yeah.
We are bringing in a receiver who's an outside receiver who we'll talk about in a second. But, I mean, I don't think it's impossible. I don't think the divorce was so ugly that it would be impossible.
It wasn't. I think Miami was maybe a little bit confused because, again, I've tried to say this all offseason. I got even more confirmation on this weekend, talking to people who would know about the situation. Isaiah Horton had more money at Miami on the table than he took less money at Bama because he wanted to play with Ty Simpson. That was his buddy from high school. He entered the portal like 2.5 weeks maybe before Beck said he was coming to Miami. Miami was still looking for a QB. He took less money. So I think Miami was confused because Miami's like, hey, you had an awesome season with us here. We've developed you. We're paying you more than the Bama's paying you. And he really wanted to go play with Ty Simpson. Now, Ty Simpson's gone. Ty Simpson actually may come back somewhere. It doesn't look like it right now because it looks like he's a projected first rounder, but we've seen these situations before. Like I said, I don't think that Miami was upset he left, but I don't think there was like a disrespectful thing that went on, especially if you're taking less money. It's not like our team came in and said, hey, we're going to come and pay you double. And Miami's like, well, I mean, he's going for the money or whatever. We can't match that. That's not what this case was. So I do think that there might be a door open there, but I have not heard it yet. I have not heard an inkling of it. So
Yeah, same. And look, it worked out for Miami. They went and got CJ Daniels, who has been part of this incredible run, a huge part of this incredible run. So many iconic plays and a leader.
JR Godfather, you're confusing him with Josh Horton. I don't think we have anything with Zay Horton throwing the U down.
Yeah, no.
As he says, why do you throw the U down? We're talking about Isaiah Horton, the offensive, the receiver who was at Bama this last year.
By the way, it was nice watching the championship celebration in the Fiesta Bowl, and I saw my man OrchidMan on the field right there by the stage. OrchidMan Florida.com, South Florida's top landscape artisan, 786-271-0332. We'll have him on the show. He was sending me some transfer portal information this morning. My guy, the OrchidMan, OrchidMan. Man, if you want to get your landscape taken care of, commercial property, residential property, and you don't want to think about all these details, talk to OrchidMan. These guys will take care of you. They'll be the point person, the quarterback for your operation, irrigation, tree stump grinding, hurricane prep, all the little details you don't want to think about. They will take care of it. OrchidMan Florida, OrchidMan Florida.com. Also, Pete, yesterday I was in heaven on earth, man. The Dadeland Mall Dining Pavilion. Place was bumping. A line was long, but moved fast. Great staff out there at East Las Canarias Cuban Express. I was actually wearing my East Las Canarias shirt yesterday with the Canes colors. They're all fired up about the Canes. Got 7 different types of croquetas, all kinds of Cuban sandwiches, cubaritos if you want to just grab and go, the pastries, empanadas, the sweets. They got it all. They even have tequeños for our Venezuelan brothers and sisters, and those are going for 50% off in honor of all the good news coming out of Venezuela. 50% off for tequeños at East Las Canarias Cuban Express in the Dadeland Mall Dining Pavilion. Putting Maduro in handcuffs, going to put Mendoza in handcuffs here in a couple, 9 days. 9 days before we get after it there. And also got a shout out, Pete, place I was at yesterday. I saw the beginning of the game there, and it was packed house as always. They had that great outside area with the big TVs, everybody watching the semifinal. That's Duffy's Tavern, 60 plus years serving the Miami community, the home of the Hurricanes. My man Junior is going to send me some pics. I heard they were going crazy during the Fiesta Bowl. The place was packed, and people were just climbing on the walls. This is, again, 60 plus years serving Miami, now taking credit cards. So they're going into the 21st century, but still keeping that classic vibe. All the pictures on the wall, all this Miami, South Florida history, University of Miami history on the wall. Updated menu, keeping the classics, but updating it for the new era. Anything you want. Duffy's Tavern, the home of the Hurricanes, not Duffy's Grill or whatever these kind of chains are called. This is Duffy's Tavern. There's only one, and it is right there on the edge of Coral Gables, the heart of the Hurricanes and the home of Hurricane fans. Ready to get into it, Pete?
Yeah, D, for sure. I got to hop off here around 11, just so you know, because I got to head to the game. But I'll be here the next.
You touching wood?
Don't think so. Don't think so.
All right. Well, it's going to be a great game anyways. Shout out to Joel. He'll be at Duffy's on Sundays. I saw Kirk Reagan, our boy, there yesterday. Cam Ward said if had Zay stayed, we never would have had the greatest catch in Canes history. I mean, yeah, it all worked out. So I think the way it worked out was great for us. Wasn't terrible for him as he played well, but it wasn't great for him. But yeah, I'd take him back. We got some more targets to talk about here, Pete, as I posted on CanesInsight.com.
Yeah. So let's just get into this list, right? Let's get right through it. I think we got to start obviously with the quarterback position, D, Sam Levitt, who's in town. There was some late speculation last night that Lane Kiffin was trying to swoop in and stop him, which I think should show you what the idea is around this visit to Miami, that Lane Kiffin was trying to stop him from going because I think there's a belief that this one could get done here in the next day or so. But it's been a winding road to get to this point because we know they've had interest in other guys. But you and I have been big Levitt fans. We did a show the day that he entered the portal, both saying, hey, if this is the guy, we're in on him.
Yeah, by the way, there you go. CanesInsight.com, 7.7 million posts in county. Check out the full story and the discussion on the message boards, which are on fire. But yeah, look, Levitt, he's number one player in the portal according to 247. He's the number one player in the portal according to On3. Lane Kiffin is going to airports, doing his usual show. I mean, the guy, what an embarrassment that guy is, watching the playoffs from his chair. Had the second best roster in the country last year, didn't make the playoffs. But anyways, he's obviously, whoring himself out to try to get Levitt. Miami it didn't work. Levitt did jump on the plane, trying to like a romantic comedy kind of deal, I guess, with Lane Kiffin trying to keep him from jumping on the plane. But Levitt jumped on the plane. He is here in beautiful Miami, Florida. It looks incredible right now, man. The weather could not be better. And they're going to make their run. Native of Westland, Oregon, which is outside
the weather in Miami looks good.
Yeah, well, Miami looks perfect. I'm sure.
I'm in the Gables right now. It's a little cloudy out here.
Oh, they're really? Miami Beach is perfect. No, Miami Beach is beautiful. I'm sure they'll take him out here, show him the sights here in Miami Beach. You know, Sam Levitt, young, healthy boy. I'm sure he wants to be out here in Miami Beach having fun. But yeah, he's from Portland area, so there's no real local ties. Doesn't look like Oregon's in the mix. 2,885 yards, 24 touchdowns, 6 INTs in 2024 when he won the Big 12, 443 rushing yards and 5 touchdowns. Last year, missed most of a foot injury. Really, the negative here is you're dealing with another Carson Beck situation where Carson Beck, I mean, really, Pete, the parallels to Carson Beck are kind of crazy, right? Because he probably missed spring with an injury. The departure from Arizona State wasn't the cleanest. Again, similar to Beck with Georgia. We know how that turned out. It turned out perfect for us. But he's the number one player in the portal, just like Beck was. And I think he deserves to be the number one player in the portal because of what he's put on film. This guy was in the playoffs dealing against Texas. He can run. He can throw. He reminds me a lot of Bo Nix, not necessarily the trajectory and like the career path, but just the way they play, their size, their arm strength. I think very, very similar. This guy can really, really run. His short area quickness, I think, is what sets him apart. He's not like a guy that is running 4.4 and he needs a straight line and then he picks up speed. He's a short area, quick guy. Somebody can be flying in, he'll make a quick move, get out of there, and good arm. Someone mentioned in the comments about Kiffin was trying to tamper with Damon Williams from Washington while Levitt was on his visit. I can't imagine that sat well. Miami has gone through their process. Obviously, it's a slow process because they've been in the championship hunt, but
not that they haven't been working.
They've been working, but I mean, he was on LSU's campus while they were tampering. So I think that, obviously Miami looked at Sorsby. Miami was doing other things, so it's not like Miami's been a one track on Levitt. But I think it's a little more difficult when you're talking about being on campus during your visit and they're out there tampering with a quarterback to take your spot, right? That to me hits a prideful guy a little better. If I'm Levitt, I'm thinking I'm better than Damon Williams, right? So I don't think he felt very good about that. We'll see how that plays out. But everything I have heard going into the visit is that Miami had a great shot. There was a little bit of a curveball with that Kiffin airport nonsense, but he's here. So that didn't work. I think Miami has a very, very good shot. If you're asking me to handicap, I'd bet on this guy being our quarterback next year. But the weekend's got to play out.
Yeah, like I said, I think there's an expectation that it gets done. If it doesn't, we might be in trouble. That's what I'll say. If it doesn't happen, if it doesn't get done, then I don't know what they're gonna do. I really don't. I have faith that they can pull something out. Ty Simpson's still out there. Potentially, we've seen the last 2 quarterbacks from Miami also declare for the draft. But at that point, I would get a little worried, I got to say.
Yeah, I think we'll be fine. I think we're going to have a good quarterback. And if it's Sam Levitt, he's number one player in the portal. So that speaks for itself. Josiah Thompson, offensive tackle from South Carolina, name we haven't talked about a ton on the show, but he's visiting this weekend. He is a left tackle, 6'7", 300 pounds from Dillon, South Carolina. Former 5-star player. This guy's a 5-star player, shows up at South Carolina, stays home. Freshman All-SEC his first year at left tackle. And then this year, 2025, he started every game at left tackle. Great physical traits, 6'7", 300, like I mentioned. Still has room to gain more weight. Played basketball, played both ways in high school through shot put. Just a talented 5-star body type. I think the negative you would have with Josiah Thompson is he's been up and down, right? He started since his freshman year.
Well, I have another negative, D, and it's, I think, the unfortunate, we want to go on this run, right? But I think this signals, I should say, something else, which I mentioned on the Discord last night when I dropped Thompson's name. There's some talk that Markel Bell, with the run that he's on right now, as I've reported, right, that, and I don't want to say that you didn't say it either, but I'm saying, because it might end up being wrong. I've reported that it looked like he was leaning towards coming back here, but I also did put the qualifier. If he goes on a run here, this is before the playoffs, and he locks up, Cassius Howe, he plays well against Ohio State, then you got to strike when the iron's hot. It's a similar body type to Bell, that tall tackle type, not as big as Bell still, raw talent, A guy who, you don't know if he's coming in here to be a starter right off the bat or a guy who might need to get developed a little bit.
No, I think he'd start.
But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one, man, because to me that signals that Bell might be out the door.
Yeah, and if that's the case, look, you take that trade-off. The guy's been playing at an extremely high level. Last game wasn't his best game for Markel Bell, but I mean, he's been playing great. And I think he is someone that should be drafted, in my opinion, no later than day 2. I'm not saying that's going to happen. The draft is weird. Things happen. But I think the guy with that kind of size and upward trajectory you have to take on day 2. But looks like, yeah, I would agree with you, Pete. That's kind of how it's trending, which is why Miami's being aggressive in the tackle market, and they've identified Thompson. I think the reason they've identified him, Georgia's the main competition, so this is not like a light recruitment. I think that what I like about Thompson is, number one, he's played 2 years. He's 2-year starter in the SEC, so the guy's got plenty of experience. But on top of that, he's really a developmental guy, right? This is a guy who is not anywhere near his ceiling. You hope. He's only into his 3rd year, so he never redshirted. He went straight into the fire. He's still, again, kind of a skinny player, meaning like I think he's going to gain some more weight as he gets older and more physically mature. Obviously, they see some movement stuff with him that they think they can coach. Just seeing his best plays, he is very impressive. Our guy Clay Fink did a cut up of him after his freshman year, and you see some incredible reps. Obviously, you can go Google his name and you'll see some tough reps, right? It's just that's how it goes.
The only separation says I get very excited when I bring up negativity. I'm not excited. I just think it's a very noteworthy piece of information, D. We've been speculating that if Miami was going to bring in an offensive lineman, it would be probably a center, right? And I'm not saying that's out of the realm of possibility, even though I think Ryan Rodriguez has a good chance to be the guy next year. But I think this is when there's a chance you lose your left tackle, who's been one of the best players on your team. I think it's something that we should bring up and is noteworthy.
Yeah, you have to. And I think it's hand in hand with this news, because I don't think this guy's coming in to be a backup. He's coming in to start if he does come in here. And it's going to be interesting to see how the visit goes, see how we evaluate him. That's a big part of it too, is when these guys visit, we're looking at them too. It's speed dating, so you learn a lot about them when they're here. But I like this approach, right? I trust your coaching. Get guys that have played, but also get guys that have upside, right? You're threading that needle with both, and get a guy that has the tools to be an NFL left tackle that just needs coaching. Entering, again, only if this guy redshirted, we were talking about a redshirt freshman last year, but he started for 2 years in the SEC. So very, very young player who I think also has a lot of experience. I like the what I've seen from him, just watching his highlights. The guy can definitely move. He's a little light, but and there's some inconsistency in his play, but that's why you have coaches. That's why you have this developmental program, which has turned Markel Bell into an NFL player.
Yep, no doubt. And D, as we continue to go down this list of visitors here, we have to also keep in mind that as people are like, hey, why are we bringing in certain guys, certain positions? There's still, unfortunately, going to be guys who enter the portal this week for Miami here as the portal closes January 19th.
Well, it doesn't close for the Canes until
oh, really?
Yeah,
the 23rd, is it actually?
It's like 7 days after the last game.
Okay, yeah. Then that's my fault on that. But I do think there will be additions this week, unfortunately.
That's just the nature of the beast, right? But the good ones, what you like is when you have NFL defections for guys that are playing well, because that just, Mark Fletcher's.
I wish we had Dante Simpson right now.
Yeah, I wish we had him too, but that's going to happen. And you recruit more guys, right? I'm
just saying for this game, like he would have played last game.
Yeah.
He would have gotten some snaps especially when Moten went out of the game. Like that depth. What I'm saying is, I agree with you. You're not going to lose a starter right now, but you're playing Jabari Antoine as a true freshman right now. Is playing at the cornerback spot. Like that's really well. Yeah. Oh, playing well. I agree, but that's not. You know what I'm saying? It's not just about losing starters. You lose other guys at certain positions. Like you're thinner wide receiver right now.
Yeah, wide receiver.
Not that I expect to lose anyone this week at receiver, but I'm just saying, like,
yeah. I mean, like I'm not
national title game, man.
I'm not worried about the portal affecting this game. I'm more worried about the portal just in general, losing talented guys. But that's the nature of the portal. Talented guys go in, talented guys come out. So all you can do is bring in players on visits. One guy I want to talk about, Rasheem Biles from Pittsburgh, linebacker. Talk about high-profile visitors this weekend. He's probably number 2 after Sam Levitt. This guy's already one of the best linebackers in the ACC. Last year, 101 tackles, 17 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks, 6 pass deflections, 2 interceptions. He's had 3 pick sixes in his career. This is number 3 on Pittsburgh. He's almost built like a safety, flies around, good tackler, but a smaller guy, but super fast, super talented, just against the pass, against the run, going upfield, making plays in the backfield. This guy is excellent. A Columbus, Ohio native. So you look at Ohio State where he's visited, also visited Michigan, Florida, Florida State, Colorado. So he's been around. This is a true process for Rasheem Miles, but I think he'd fit great with our defense. I like that we're still in the mix here. Miami's looking for a linebacker to West was saying moves on. Good chance Mo Toure comes back last I heard. So you want to, if you have a Mo Toure, you have your young guys or Gire, Kellen Wiley, guys like that. I want to add some speed into that room. And Rasheem Miles is one of the fastest linebackers in the country. I think he'd immediately, like you're talking about, if Miles were to sign with Miami, he'd be first team all ACC next year preseason. So that's a pretty good place to be.
You get a guy like that to be able to run behind Miami's D line, right, and have a little bit of free range ability would be awesome.
100%. So that's one to keep an eye on. Like 2,700 on. Remember to like and subscribe to the show. But yeah, Biles has been everywhere. So we'll see how that process unfolds. Interesting name here, Pete, I want to talk about. Pierce Spurlin, a tight end from Georgia. And people were trying to figure this one out. And I was trying to figure it out. I did do some homework on him. So this guy's 6'8", 250 now. Apparently he's grown a ton. He was like 230 in high school and as a freshman. But he's now 6'8", 250, according to 247. I'll believe that when I see it, but that's huge. Number 2 tight end in America coming out in class of 2023. He was from Santa Rosa Beach, and that's on Florida's Panhandle, right there by Destin. Played 6 games as a true freshman. He played in that blowout win that Georgia had over FSU, caught a long pass. But then he had a heart condition, like a congenital heart condition. Since then, he's had open heart surgery, and now he's finally fully cleared. 3 years of eligibility, just visited Florida. I watched some of his highlights from high school. It was him against Caleb Downs in one-on-ones, and he was making like one-handed catches on him. So this is a dude with a lot of physical talent, and he's getting interest in the portal. So like people have been monitoring him even with the heart condition.
Looks like Luka Gilbert a little bit in terms of size, which, by the way, shout out Luka Gilbert getting meaningful snaps last game.
Some of the most meaningful snaps too.
Yeah.
I want to say he was in on one of the goal line plays or red zone plays on that last drive. But yeah, I think this guy maybe a little more. I don't know who's more of a receiver. I mean, Gilbert's going to play a ton next year. I think what you want to do is we want to get more of those long athletic body types on the offensive line. I would love to see Elijah Lofton be more of a tailback and a fullback and lose some weight to play those roles as opposed to putting on weight to be an inline blocker. I'd rather have some inline body types and then also be able to use him as a running back, halfback. So we need more of those guys. I think we missed Cam McCormick this year. We missed Riley Williams last year or this year in the running game. So I'm glad we're being aggressive at tight end. This to me is a very, very intriguing, athletic, big, untapped potential type of pickup if Miami were to go in this direction. So excited to see how this one goes. I'm sure they'll have medical check him out, but he's been cleared.
Well, and this is one of those, D, where I think it's a potential value get. I don't know what the kid would be making. I don't know what the number, I'm not trying to get into that, but all I'm saying is this is a guy who other programs, it looks like obviously want him, but you're maybe getting him. You talked about these like faded 5 stars a lot of times, and we talk about with quarterbacks, but I think there's a lot of value to find in some of these other positions as well, where for whatever reason, the guy hasn't really gotten things on track in their career, but you know that there's something there. If the character checks out and you believe that the guy can play a role for your team, then bring him in, and you're probably not paying the same premium you are for guys who have a ton of production.
100%. I could not agree more. Canes man Laz says, I could be tripping, but I think Lawson's a dynamic fullback. That's what I think he is. He just needs to, he's been injured.
The player has to embrace it. The player has to embrace it.
Yeah, but we'd rather be the smallest tight end or the biggest.
Hey, it's not me.
No.
The player has to want to do it. Like there are some players, and I'm not saying that Lofton doesn't want to. I'm just saying the player has to say, okay, this is what I know this is what I am, and I'm willing to play that role and embrace that role. The player has to want to do it.
But I think he'd want to do it because he get carries. Like he wouldn't just be like fullback, like, hey, you're what's the guy in the Dolphins, the Alec Ingalls. Like it wouldn't be like that. It'd be like, hey man, you're in the backfield more. Like lose weight because we want to give you more carries. I think he'd want to do that and throw it to like he needs to lose weight. He's bulked up too much to play in line, and he's been injured. Now you've seen him get healthier. He's starting to block way better. That's why I was more like my biggest. I hyped Lofton more than anybody in the offseason. My biggest disappointment. I understood why he was moving not as well because of the injuries and the added weight to play in line. But I was disappointed with his physicality wasn't there early in the year, and that was just unlike him. But now you've seen him get healthier and he's getting more physical. I think let him lose some weight. He can run. He'd be a very dynamic halfback, fullback for us. So I'm excited to see what.
Danny Roman says you lost all credibility, saying you would take, I guess, Mendoza over Caleb Williams. I would too.
Yeah, what? I mean, look, first of all, when you talk about all these guys, we're talking about them coming out of high school, college. Like these guys are already in the pros, so there's less variables there. You've seen them play in the pros. Like obviously, it's easier to say, yeah, I'll take this guy over that guy when you've seen him in the pros. But if you
speaking of that, I'll take Carson Beck over Cam Ward.
All right, I won't go down that road. I'm not going down that road.
I will.
But the shout out to Cam Ward and the Ward family being at the game, watching the Canes, and thank you to Cam Ward for making this thing move. And a shout out to Carson Beck for that great drive. We got some great quarterbacks trying to keep this going with Sam Levitt. But in terms of wide receivers, I wanted to get to this guy right here, Cam Vaughn. And someone in the comments just mentioned here. Let me pull up the comment because let's see what we got here. Somebody is in West Virginia here. Short Stack says, I don't know if you talked about Cam Vaughn yet, but I go to West Virginia and I went to every game. This kid is a dog. Just had no quarterback thrown to him. Had some insane highlights, this guy, Pete, in terms of just downfield playmaking, pure outside receiver, 6'2", 185. So he's from Temple, Georgia, small town Georgia. He's a two-time transfer. Played his first year at Jacksonville State before transferring to West Virginia. Over the past 2 years, with limited quarterback play, 83 passes, 1,344 yards, 16.2 per catch. Jacksonville State, I mentioned because he was there in 24. We had Terry Jefferson, your boy, the nickel coach for the Miami Hurricanes, there in 24.
Well, and you know what else to me shows he was with Rich Rod, and Rich Rod brought him from Jacksonville State to West Virginia, which shows, and Rich Rod knows what it's supposed to look like in terms of the skill positions, D. He's not bringing dudes with him, which he also was bringing Cam Cook, the running back, who's one of the top running backs in the country, from Jacksonville State this year to West Virginia. So Rich Rod knows what it's supposed to look like at those spots, and he brought him with him.
And he produced at the Big 12 level as well as what he did at Jacksonville State. Zechariah Poyser was also there in Jacksonville State. But yeah, 6'2", 185, some spectacular catches in his highlights. He did catch some flack from West Virginia fans because it was an interception that, like, he was going deep. The ball was underthrown. The guy caught it and went the other way, and he didn't really chase him. So that kind of went viral a little bit. I think a lot of that's just, fan frustration with the season and how it was going. But I'm sure that's something to be addressed by Miami's coaching staff. We've had incredible effort from our wide receivers, blocking, doing all those things. So I think the culture of the room, they'll if they bring him in, they'll make sure that he'll fit in there. But just the highlights of the stuff he's been doing, unbelievable talent. Hands, he can run a little bit. He's got size, coordination. He's a very, very impressive outside guy, and I could see why Miami went after him.
Yeah, I like the player. And by the way, D, just in general here, right? Because now we've seen Vandrevius Jacobs was on campus last weekend. I'm a fan of that talent as well. We understand Miami's probably going to need multiple receivers here. You've lost a lot already. I like what they're bringing in, but you're going to need at least two, I believe. And I think the strategy, because we're getting a lot of questions about, hey, Cam Coleman, you had Miller out there, Amarion Miller, you had Nick Marsh, right? And I think it's a strategy similar to what you saw last year, right? You lose Horton, you bring in a CJ Daniels, bring in a Tony Johnson, you bring in a Keelan Marion. Keelan Marion, by the way, was the #1 receiver in the portal in spring. So it's not like that was a under the radar pickup.
And great get,
which we'll wait for Amon this week to really get I'm going to wait for Amon to really, I guess, rub it in people's faces who were very wrong about Keelan Marion during the season, the early part of the year. But the strategy to me seems to be, which Malachi Tony is going to be very well paid next year, but let's bring in a room full of guys who are, maybe not the true #1 guy, but can all bring something different to the table. Cam Coleman's asking for what, $3.5–4 million right now, and someone will pay it. It's a big chunk of money to go towards one guy in a room where you can probably get 3 or 4 really good players for that same price.
100%. I think they're trying to go downfield, right? You're looking at this year. Teams are trying to take Malachi Toney away. They're trying to take our run game away. They're giving us the shot play. We didn't hit them against Ole Miss. Beck, whether you blame it on Beck, the receiver's not getting separation. I think it was a little bit of all the above.
Look.
There he is.
Listening right here.
He knows. He's been saying it all the time. Hey, one more to go. Hopefully he catches the game-winning touchdown on the 19th. But Ahmad's been saying it nonstop. And obviously he knows ball. He knows wide receivers. He saw Keelan Mario's not a gadget guy or kicker off returner. He was a receiver all day. And every week we see it even more and more. Yeah, so shout out to Ahmad. Looking forward to talking to him on Tuesday. But I think Miami wants to be able to get downfield. That's really what this is about. That's why you saw Vandrevius Jacobs, who's much more of a downfield receiver, high yard per catch, high yard per route run. He's very much in that mold. Same thing as this dude. He's a downfield guy, over 16 yards per catch with the inconsistent quarterback play, Cam Vaughn. So I think Miami's trying to make sure that when teams do try to take away Toney, take away the run, you have a downfield receiver that you can throw it up to. That's to me what they're looking at.
Lenoris Murray, appreciate your support. He says, we also don't use the tight ends well anymore. Listen, I've heard this all year. I saw us throw to Bauman in a big situation. The ball wasn't hauled in. I saw Elijah Lofton make a huge catch up the seam. I think you like if we were featuring tight ends more, we would be saying, why don't we get the ball to Malachi Toney and the outside guys more? Why don't we run the ball more? I don't know that there's a dynamic guy there right now. I'm a Lofton guy, D. I like him a lot, but we haven't seen that same player which we've well documented. But you got to get the ball to your best players, and right now the tight ends aren't the best players on the team.
Yeah, I agree. If Arroyo was there, it'd be a different conversation. Shout out to Clutch asking why we worried, Pete. We got Emery. Yeah, we'll see what happens with Emery. It's gonna be interesting to watch him. He's been working hard. He's been doing some great things in practice. And we were told last year that Mendoza was the Cuban Emery. So consider that Mendoza is going to go number 1 and win the Heisman. Maybe Emery's is nasty like that, So we gotta see what he can do. But
is he now the Panhandle Mendoza? Is that what it
is? I love it. Evangelical Mendoza. So we got a couple more guys I want to talk about. Caleb Herring from Tennessee. This is a player transferring. He's been there after 3 years at Tennessee. Former top 100 player. So now for his 4th year. His last year eligibility is transferring. He's from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, right near Nashville. 6'5", 245. Was real skinny coming out of high school, but gained weight. Former top 100 prospect. 369 snaps this year. 14 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 4 sacks. Was kind of like their Lightfoot, in a way. And when you watch,
that's how he was compared to me when I was talking to someone about him. I think he's a little bit bigger than Lightfoot. And look, he's not going to be a cheap one. Pass rusher with not 4 sacks this year, but the upside is there. So not going to be cheap, but I think that'll be a really good pickup.
Yeah, people look at like the stats. This guy's got really, really good movement, really good suddenness. Like his sacks are not just like running into the quarterback when he's running around or in coverage. Like he flashes some real juice. And I kind of like, Marquise Lightfoot. If you look at his stats, Marquise Lightfoot's stats are not blowing you away, but we all know how talented he is because we see it with our eyes. I think Herring is similar to that. So Texas is in the mix there. Some other schools, that'll be an expensive one, but he's there. He's on campus, and Miami's pushing hard. Last one here, Jack Olson, kicker from Northwestern, Chicago native, 19 of 21 attempts in 2025. So great ratio there. 2 for 2 from 40 to 49, 12 for 12 from 30 to 39. Interestingly, he was 0 for 2, or he's not 0 for 2, but he missed 2 from 20 to 29. His only 2 misses were under 30 yards, so he's got to tighten that up. But between 30 and 50 yards, basically, he was automatic. Did not attempt a 50-yarder, so I don't know if he would be coming with a guy that had maybe more leg for kickoffs. Kicker's hard to project. Carter Davis, no one expected that one until you first heard the sound coming off his boot and got behind that train. He's been great for us, Carter Davis. So kicker's a weird position. We'll see. but it's a little different than Burt Auburn last year. Burt Auburn last year was coming off a tough year. This guy's coming off a good year. I believe it was honorable mention All Big Ten. So need a kicker. This guy seems like a good kicker. Not much more analysis than that, other than I don't know. I have to look at his kickoff percentages, but I could see a guy, if we get a guy like this being like paired with a kickoff long kick specialist.
Yeah. Gotta trust them. Gotta trust them, right? This is they pulled Carter Davis out of a hat last year when we all had our attention focused on Auburn. So gotta trust them, and I think that's all we can do here. I don't really have any analysis to add to the kicking game. So it's funny because I remember being as an agent, D, I would ask scouts about kickers and stuff, and even they sometimes would be like, well, he's made this percentage, and he's got a big leg, and that's about all we can say. There's not much else to scout there. It's so much mental when it comes to these guys. So,
although Miami did a great job scouting Carter Davis because the numbers weren't there and the talent was there.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You still can't go off of what the numbers are, because that's all we referenced with him was 4 for 11, but there's obviously more to the story. So,
all right, everybody. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Over 3,100 on now. Remember to check out the Miami Hurricane team store if you want to get your latest gear, Fiesta Bowl championship gear. I saw some staff members and certain national finalist Peter Rees rocking this at the bar yesterday. So that Fiesta Bowl gear, I gotta say, all the championship or all the bowl game winning gear, Cotton Bowl, the Texas A&M playoff win, they make gear for all of it at the Miami Hurricane team store. I like the one for the Fiesta Bowl the most. You could also get national championship gear, not the championship winning gear, but the appearance gear, which is also really, really cool. Use promo code INSIGHT20. You get 20% off your first item. But yeah, I know you love that Fiesta Bowl gear, Pete. I saw you rocking it.
I love it, man. I love it. You gotta, take these moments. And like I said it earlier, man, I don't know that I'm getting a lot of this playoff gear now. I don't know that next year when we get there again, I'll be needing every round's gear, because it's going to start to become, you can only have so much gear, even though you get it all from Miami HTS, but like, it just feels so special right now. These moments they've been fleeting, right? We haven't had them. So you got to, I think, appreciate it all. I wanted to shout out Lomelo's Meat Market. D, I'll be over there doing a show this week. We're going to do, we've done some promos this year with them. We're going to be doing a big time giveaway this week. So stay tuned for that. Lomelo's Meat Market, lomelos.com, promo code CIS10 for 10% off your order online. Fresh Wagyu beef delivered nationwide. If you're here in person, also mention that CanesInSight for a discount in store there for 10% off, and you see these beautiful cuts of steak here. Lomelo's Meat Market, if you're local, 9810 South Dixie Highway.
All right, last one for me. Don't forget to give your free time a raise with KashKick, KashKick. You're messing around your phone, downloading games, playing games. You can do that on KashKick. The difference is you'll get money on the side right to your PayPal account. 4.5 plus average rating in the App Store, 1.5 million plus downloads. You download KashKick app, KashKick. Play all the games you're playing anyways on your phone. Browse around, do a couple surveys, and you're putting money into your PayPal account. It is that simple. Again, this is a 1.5 million plus download app. All legit. KashKick, KashKick. All right, Pete, enjoy the basketball game. I know you'll do the recap there. I'll be checking out Sweet Spot, the travel team, E-Money. They're going to be winning this tournament this weekend. I feel confident there. It's going to be a fun time. So shout out to everybody tuning in. Over 3,200. We'll keep you posted on the portal.
Hit that like and subscribe.
Not a lot of national championship content coming this week. Hit that like and subscribe, like Pete said. Go Canes.
Go Canes.